Welcome to Thinking Outside the Soil with your host, Johnny Alfalfaseed, where we get to talk story and touch on topics about hydroponics and the farmers who grow the crops and creatures we need to eat. Good morning, and happy Aloha Friday from Blooming Health Farms. And thank you for being with me on this beautiful day. We are hatching chickens, so today is hatch day. They actually started pipping yesterday, and I've got almost 20 of the 24 here in our little Maxi Brincia, and they're just chirping away and doing their little thing. So I'm excited to get Junior in here this afternoon and have him move the chicks. It's going to be the first time that he's hatched and going to move these chicks over there, so it's pretty cool. It's been really great just talking about chickens over the last year or so, a lot more than I ever expected. And I was recently on an NPR affiliate, KUNC here in Greeley, Colorado, 91.5 FM, has this neat podcast called In the NoCo, and they feature Northern Colorado stories and talk about some of the things that are important to our community. And they start asking, all kinds of questions about what it is we do here at Blooming Health Farms. But if you've been to bloominghealthfarms.com, you'll see on our site that I talk about some of these really creative ideas, or we've creatively put together ways of describing what we do. And one of them that I like to say is that we are an aquaponic chicken farm. And I often get a lot of questions as, Sean, what is an aquaponic chicken farm? So I really just want to unpack a little bit of that for those of you out there that keep asking me, hey, Sean, what is an aquaponic chicken farm? Well, really, those are some concepts that I've just kind of meshed together because of what we are doing. So from a high level, we are using aquaponics, or this idea of using fish and the fish waste to water plants, to grow produce, to grow all kinds of things. We're using our aquaponic system to do a couple really neat things. One, we grow some of our own chicken food. So I use a couple plants, which I'm going to keep a little bit close to my chest, but we also have a duckweed that I grow, and we include that in some of our feeding. So duckweed is known to be very high in crude fat, very high in crude protein, and I can see a turnover of duckweed about every 3 days. It grows really, really fast, especially in our aquaponics water. Well, another really neat thing about duckweed is it's commonly used in wastewater treatment to clean up really nasty, dirty water. Well, with that knowledge in that application of duckweed, I have been using the duckweed part of our system to remediate or to clean up the wastewater from our hydroponic sprouting process. So the other part of an aquaponic chicken farm is the chicken aspect. We are growing our own hydroponic fodder every single day. We have a live feed. We have a really great way of getting feed every day, and I'm pretty much done here already as I've been speaking to you. And yeah, you didn't know that I was already feeding my chickens without you really knowing it. So one thing that we love about what we're doing is that we can do it really quickly. We can do it really easily. I'm able to teach these kids how to feed out our chickens by integrating all of these really sustainable concepts. But, it's not necessarily just so fluffy as that. So for you, I wanted to jump in more about some of those intricacies of aquaponics, some of those dynamics, and maybe just unpack some of that out a little more. Aquaponics, as I generally like to joke about, is a fancy way of saying that we use fish pee to grow plants. Now, it's not entirely fish pee, so let me say that in an aquaponic system, we have some really big major components. We have fish. Fish live in the system, or another aquatic species. Most of us doing aquaponics have relied on a fish. We use tilapia. Others use catfish. A lot in the southern hemisphere, especially in the Australian and New Zealand agricultural systems, love barramundi. I would love to learn more about barramundi. So any of you down there, if you raise barramundi, I'd love to have you on the show to talk about what you're doing to our audience so they can get to hear some of your experience out there. There are other aquatic species. Some people use crayfish. There's a huge slew of systems. And for the point of brevity, to be simple, we've got fish. And those fish live in water like most fish do. And like all living things, they have a waste product. When they eat food, they have to go to the bathroom, if you will. So with a fish, their metabolism is similar but different than us. So humans, mammals, we eat food and then our digestive system extracts all of the nutrients out of it, and then pretty much what's left over goes through the GI, goes through the digestion and gets left over, and we call it, poop, we call it shit. And birds, chickens, same way. They eat food, they do that, and they poop it out. Fish, while they do that, most of the waste component from a fish doesn't actually go through that system. So humans, mammals, chickens, much of us actually metabolize and produce most of our waste product through respiration. And it's something that I think is often overlooked. We generally think of digestion as that huge component about, the energy aspect. But really, respiration is the name of the game. As we're breathing, as our hearts are pumping, we are doing that energy exchange. And a lot of that waste product is released as carbon dioxide, as CO2. So in an aquaponic system, we have fish that are releasing waste on a consistent basis through their gills. So we have lungs and fish have gills. And with the gills, they are releasing their waste products, and their waste products are primarily carbon dioxide and ammonia. So a lot like urine in us and the uric acid component of our hens and our other, feathered friends. Fish will release most of that ammonia waste through their gills. So in an aquaponic system, our nutrient is coming from the fish, or at least the primary nutrient gets released from the fish's metabolic processes. Now we have another huge component in an aquaponic system, and this is what we like to call the motor of aquaponics. The motor of aquaponics are the bacteria. There are naturally occurring bacteria in the environment that have evolved to clean up byproducts from other species, from other animals, from other processes. There is this neat bacterial genre that will take waste products from nitrogen products like ammonia and turn it into other things. Now, these are naturally occurring bacteria, as I said before, and many of us are very, very familiar with these bacteria, even though we may not know about aquaponics. Now, I want you to remember the last time that you were at the beach. Maybe you were at a lake, a river, an ocean, and the water levels on those bodies of water will rise and fall. If you're near the ocean, you get to see the tides. With rivers and lakes, the changes in seasonal flows will usually reveal the shoreline. And so I want you to step back into that place and take a big whiff, take a big smell. That smell you smell are the bacteria doing their thing. And when people come to our place, or when you go to another aquaculture or aquaponics facility, you will smell that smell right away. That is the motor of aquaponics, hard at work. The motor of aquaponics is really nitrification. There are a couple species of bacteria that do this nitrification. So we have the Nitrosomonas and we have the Nitrobacter. So our Nitrosomonas are bacteria that will take ammonia and turn ammonia into a different nitrogen species called nitrite. Nitrite with an I. Nitrite is actually very, very toxic to fish and other aquatic organisms. The reason mainly being is it inhibits or prevents the hemoglobin from binding to the blood in the fish, and so they're not able to uptake oxygen, and as you can imagine, that is not good. So nitrate is one of the culprits that we really want to watch out for. Now, nitrate, though, thankfully, is consumed or metabolized by another species called Nitrobacter, the one I mentioned earlier. Nitrobacter will turn it back into something that is good for the plants, and in this case, we are going to convert nitrite into nitrate, nitrate with an A. So we have ammonia that comes out of our fish, and actually ammonia is in an equilibrium between ammonium and ammonia. However, those get turned into nitrite by Nitrosomonas. That nitrite, which is very toxic, is converted into nitrate. Nitrate with the A is the plant nutrient of choice in this system. So we have a system that is turning one waste product into a nutrient for plants. Now, in an aquaponic system, we can keep going full circle on this, and the plants will then take out that nitrate nitrogen. Nitrate can be a toxin in the environment. Now, if you can think about some of those other stories out there about agricultural pollution and all of the nitrates in the water, nitrates in our foods and stuff like that, nitrates are a thing that we have to be very mindful of. So our plants are able to take out all of those nitrates and the other micronutrients that happen to be in the water as well, and will essentially clean that water up, purify that water. That water that is cleaned is returned to the area where the fish live. It's returned to the fish tank. It's returned to the pond, the fish rearing area. And we let that water circulate full time, consistently. And we move our water on a rapid basis rather, and it's moving consistently. The flow rate, I don't have it measured right now, but we are essentially exchanging our entire volume of water at least once a day. So for example, if you have 500 gallons of water or 5,000 gallons of water like we do up at the Bark, we want to make sure that we're exchanging that at least once a day. And that's the recommendation from most of those in my aquaponics world that I've spoke to, my colleagues, those that I look up to. That's kind of the minimum. So we're able to take advantage of some of these processes in a really neat way. So that is all I have for us today. I didn't go as nerdy as I expected to, though I do love talking about some of those things on different levels. I am jumping back in to study some of my biochemistry, so please do forgive me if I bust out some like big enzyme words. And if I do, call me out, because it's not meant for you to take it in like that. The idea is really to put all of these things in common language so that we can better understand and facilitate conversations, because if I'm consistently nerdy out there, I don't get an opportunity to really understand what it is that maybe somebody else out there needs or wants or understands, or I don't get the chance to learn myself if I'm just stuck in my own ideas. So thank you for being with me on another episode of Thinking Outside the Soil. Take care and have a lovely day.